Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining us today on our first ever YouTube Live rollout event. We're really excited to see everybody here. Even though we can't really see you, we know you're here in keyboard spirit. I'm joined here today by Jesse Sprague and Franco Rotoli. How's it going, Franco?
It's going good, going good. A little cloudy here, but we're about to burst out with some sunshine with the energy that we're going to give you guys
I
today.
like that.
Hopefully, you guys can give it back to us in the
I
chat.
like that level of excitement. How about you, Jesse? Sunny and 80 where you are?
Sounds good. It's actually just clouded over here too, but I like Franco's
You
answer.
like Franco's answer. I wish so, but last time I looked outside today, it was cloudy and gray and about to rain. So such is life in
It's
upstate
beautiful
New
this
York,
morning.
right? So a couple of housekeeping things. We do encourage you not to watch the video in full screen if you can, so you can join in our chat. I see lots of people in there commenting already. We do have some familiar faces or keyboards in there. You'll notice that some of our tech team is in there to answer questions if you have any. We will also try to take a moment to answer any questions about the section after the presenter is done. So if you have anything that you want to know more about, please type it in the chat. We'll take a second when we all come back together to address them if we can. So enough of the boring stuff. Today we're going to let Franco start and see how his presentation goes, and then we'll see if Jesse's is cooler. So a little bit of a competition here since we all can't sit next to each other and pick on. We'll have to do it remotely. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Franco, and I'm ready to be wowed.
All right, all right. Great. Thanks, Jim. And again, welcome everybody to our 3D experience, What's New in 2021. And as Jim mentioned, we have a really awesome show for you today. I'm really excited to share this stuff, and I know mine's going to be better because, you know, it's me. And again, keep typing in that chat. We really love seeing that feedback. But since it's our first stream on YouTube, we can have viewers from all over the country or all over the world. And since we might have a wider audience than we normally have, I just want to share a quick reminder of who we are as CADimensions. So CADimensions was founded in 1995 in Syracuse, New York. And since then, we've grown to cover all of New York, Pennsylvania, Connecticut, and more. And here's a quick snapshot of our tech staff. And as you can see, while most of us are located in Western New York, we offer award-winning technical services throughout the entire Northeast. And now, since everyone is doing more and more at home and business virtually, we extend many of our services across the entire country. And while you've come to expect world-class tech support from us, and we definitely provide that, we also offer training, world-class training, and not only in person, but now we have online training as well. Our online training is 100% instructor-led, just like our in-person training, and we also offer custom classes. If you need a very specific set of skills or a custom agenda, a custom schedule, you want to pick and choose parts of classes, we can customize all of that for you. We also offer CAD services for when your plate is too full. We have rendering services for beautiful photorealistic images and videos, rapid prototyping services, as well as 3D scanning and reverse engineering services. And don't forget to check out our YouTube channel for access to our Model Everything, tech tips, and smarter engineering videos. And also visit our website, CADimensions.com, and sign up for our lunch and learns and read our blog. All right, so enough about us. Let's get into it. This year, we're going to run all of our demos on an assembly from a company called Square Robot. And this is a remotely controlled robot for the inspection of large liquid tanks without the need to drain them, saving time and money. Founded in 2016, Square Robot chose SolidWorks and Innovia as their go-to design and management solutions. And it was really critical for them to have the ability to work from anywhere, combined with the best-in-class design tools. So we've got a quick video here. So tackling the inspection of dark, harsh, and sensitive environments is a specialty of Square Robot, a startup based out of Boston. And using advanced submersible robotics lowered into a petroleum storage tank, they autonomously inspect the environment for defects in the storage tank. And by being able to use these robotics for this task, they've reduced costs for their customers while improving the accuracy. Their design is focused on safety and reliability for these unique environments and providing maximum uptime and allowing inspections to take place when and where humans would have to otherwise wait, right? You got to drain the tank. So now they don't have to drain the tanks to inspect them. So it's really cool. It's a really awesome assembly too. We really can't wait to show you some of the inner workings of it. All right. So as we dissect this assembly from Square Robot, we'll be looking at enhancements to SolidWorks Desktop and the 3D experience. Once again, SolidWorks has added a ton of enhancements by expanding the functionality that's going to simplify and speed up your workflows. They've increased the focus on performance, reliability, and optimizing the workflows so you can focus on the task at hand, not where the tools are located. Then after that, we'll jump into, we're going to switch focus to the 3D experience, but not away from SolidWorks Desktop. We'll talk about how you can connect SolidWorks to the platform for a new level of collaboration. Speaking of new level, we plan on blowing your minds later on when we reveal the immense amount of insight that can be unblocked when you pair simulation with the cloud. I know what you're thinking, everybody. I'm a SolidWorks customer and I came here to see SolidWorks. And we've been talking about the 3D experience platform for a few years now. This year's very different. SolidWorks is blurring the line that once divided their flagship solutions from their cloud solutions. The platform now has tools that can benefit everyone, including longtime SolidWorks users like you guys, with greater collaboration. Today, you'll see SolidWorks Desktop files saving directly to the cloud in the same SolidWorks interface that we're used to. All right. That's enough. That's enough of the commercials, right? Let's jump right in. All right. As we know, customizing your UI has been a staple with SolidWorks. And it's always a balance between minimizing clutter and having the right tools right where you need them. This year with SolidWorks 2021, you don't have to choose anymore. Let's take a look at some examples. All right, so we're going to finish this part. We need to cut and pattern this sketch. But as you know, the inactive sketch color and the default part color are both gray. Changing these colors has always been available to us in the options menu. But in SolidWorks 2021, a column of colors is shown, making it easy to find the color you'd like to change, which is really nice. Right before, I used to have to click through each one of these and the color would pop up, which is fine, but this is just a whole lot faster. All right, let's use a quick green color. Let's change the color to green to make the sketch a little bit more visible. All right, also new in SolidWorks 2021 is the ability to collapse the command manager. This allows us to take full advantage of every inch of our monitor real estate. So we'll just collapse that right there. And then we can also move the quick access tools to the command manager. And that cleans up the UI and helps us focus on our design. And you can see the setting right here in our tools customize menu. Okay, and of course, all of our tools are still available using the tabs at the top of the screen. But a faster way to work is using the S key. Hopefully a lot of you are using the S key, keyboard shortcut, right? Let's add the pattern tool to our S key. Okay, in SolidWorks 2021, now you can finally search for the tools you want and then drag and drop them to the toolbars, right? So you don't have to find them in the list anymore. You can just search for the tool you want and drag it out. So let's go ahead and drop the circular pattern tool onto our S key. But before I leave the customize interface, I'm also going to search for the undo and redo buttons, and we're going to put them on the heads up display toolbar. You'll see why in a minute. All right, let's finish the cut and pattern. Notice how little I'm moving the mouse to create these features, right? We'll just select the circular edge here to pattern around, and away we go. And if you make a mistake, it's easy to correct using the undo button. Now in SolidWorks 2021, redo is more complete, allowing you to redo entire feature edits. So you can basically undo and redo up and down your tree. That's really cool. So that means if you accidentally undo a feature, you won't have to spend the extra time to recreate the feature. You can actually just redo the feature. It's really nice. Okay, so those are just some of the enhancements to the UI for 2021. Jim, do we have any questions or comments in the chat?
Wow, thanks, Franco. That was awesome. I'm going to like the undo redo because I have a decisiveness problem. Just ask my wife. I have a tough time deciding, does this look good, doesn't it? So undo redo is really, really cool. I don't see any direct questions in the chat, but I see lots of chatter going on and people watching and having a good time, hopefully. And I'm really, really looking forward to Franco's tools options quiz this year, because he's the one person that studies that from front to back.
Every year.
Yeah. He likes
I was just gonna say, I love this searching for the S key. They added it to mouse gestures. What was a couple years ago? Now that's there. That's so nice. I've been waiting for that. It seems like such a small thing, but I'm so excited about that.
Yeah, for sure.
I like the collapsible command manager. Honestly, I like as much desktop real estate as I can possibly get. So Small icons is nice, and then even collapsing it even smaller than that is really going to be helpful, especially, again, in combination with the S key. So you really don't need that huge toolbar at the top of your screen.
Very cool. All right, so a couple points for Franco on coolness there. We're going to keep track. We're going to turn it over to Jesse. He's going to talk to us about some part enhancements, and then we'll get my honest feedback after I get to see this and give you some points or maybe take a few away from Franco. So turn it over to Jesse and let him show us what's going on in parts.
All right, cool. Thanks, Jimmy. So we do have a pretty nice list of enhancements for parts as well. We've got some enhancements to sheet metal, which are really nice, some 3MF support things, which really builds out the capabilities there, and some nice enhancements for weldments. We'll slip in a couple more along the way as we go. We'll start off with sheet metal here, and we'll take a look at the trolley system that they use for transporting this robot around. And the first thing that we'll look at are two sheet metal components. One is this motor mount bracket here, and the other is the thermal guard on the back side of this for the navigation control unit. And the first thing that we'll look at with these is the ability to modify how edge flanges work on curved edges. And we've had this for a long time, but it was limited to originating from non-planar faces. And in SolidWorks 2021, the edge flange can now be created on curved edges originating from non-planar faces, such as these, like in this bend area. So you can see that it now wraps all the way around. And the preview shows us exactly how the flange is going to look at the end here. And our usual customization tools are still available. So we have the length, angle, dimensioning method, all of that is still there. And it really can't get any easier than that. So it's a great method for adding in those, stiffening flanges and things like that. And of course, it can still be flattened. So if you're going to take this out for fabrication through a DXF or whatever, you can do that. Now, if we look at the flip side of this other component for the nav control unit, this is another great case for this particular feature. And the edge flange on the far side of this needs to protect the components. So being able to have full editing capabilities here to change the angle of this so it actually sticks out a little bit is really beneficial. Obviously, it's still wrapping all the way around the edges. So these new features for the edge flange are really neat. I think it really extends the robust sheet metal capabilities that we already had. Pun intended there, I guess. But and it's good for examples like we just checked for stiffening, enclosures, things like that, where you don't have to go back in and try to manually work those out after the fact. Okay, let's change gears a little bit, and we'll look at an enhancement to the way that we might work when prototyping. We've gotten some features coming along for this purpose, for prototyping, over the past few years. And this one is a really nice enhancement that kind of rounds things out so we can see exactly what it is we're going to get. So in this case here, we've got a little LED assembly, and it contains parts of various colors and textures and transparencies and things like that. And we need to 3D print this. And in SolidWorks 2021, the support for the export and the import of the 3MF files gets even better than it was. So we can see the file type here. We now have checkboxes added to this for options to include the materials and the appearances. And when these are checked on, the export of the color textures and transparencies and all of those things are included. And furthermore, when we bring those back in, they're included as well. So all of that information is stored directly into the 3MF file now, and we can see that when we bring that back, we have the ability to retain all of that per facet, per vertex coloring, textures, transparencies, all of that stuff comes back through, so we can see exactly what it is that we're going to get. So additive manufacturing really continues to progress in capability and popularity, of course, and SolidWorks continues to accommodate these technologies, which can be really helpful, especially in the early stages of your process when you're doing a lot of prototyping. Now, the next thing that we'll take a look at here is this weldment environment, and it's common to use, obviously, various sizes of weldment members. And you can see in this example, we've got a combination of different sizes here. The horizontal tubes are a 2x2 tube, and the vertical tubes are 3x2. And the trim and extend tool is used to trim these two together, of course. And that gives you options to select which corner type you want to use. So there's alternate end butt options, and we have miter trim, which of course bisects the angle between the two tubes. But in this case, the two tubes are different profiles, so it doesn't really give us the result that we want. And we can see that in SolidWorks 2021, we have a new option for accommodating this. And when we select the flush miter option, it does exactly that. So it matches those two profiles up to give the miter trim an actual seam there, which we can then use, of course, if we wanted to weld these together. So no need to go back and make any changes to those. Now, next, let's take a look at the change to the weldment color here. So if we select the color options for this piece, let's say we need to paint it. We'll go ahead and choose a color, and likely if you've used this color palette before, you know that you can choose one of the predefined colors or a custom color. But many times we need to choose specific colors that align with a brand color or something like that. So let's take a look at the Square Robots webpage, and the brand colors are pretty easy to identify here. Now in SolidWorks 2021, there is an option for easily selecting the colors that don't already exist on the palette. And you may have guessed how this works here, and the secret is in giving the pipette a little bit more power. All right, so when we're choosing a color now in SolidWorks 2021, just like Visualize, we can drag that dropper icon anywhere on the screen, and the color underneath the dropper will be applied to the selection. So you can see here we've chosen the blue out of the top bar. That applies to the lower frames. We can select these different bodies to apply the color, the orange color out of the logo. And the new picker will grab anything that it's under anywhere on the screen, a web page or a reference image that you might have or something like that. Pretty cool. I use that actually quite a bit in Visualize. All right, let's move over here to some custom properties. And custom properties are a great way to store information about a document, like description or creation date or material or those kinds of things. And these can automatically populate your title blocks, bill of materials, PDM, those sorts of things. So they're nice to have. But sometimes we want to calculate a result rather than to input one. And now in SolidWorks 2021, equations are supported in custom properties. And for this example, we may want to calculate something like cost. All right, so if we choose equation as the type, when we now have access to things like global variables, math functions, or other properties. And for this weldment, the cost will be based on a global variable, which is just an estimated finish cost. And we can then take that global variable and multiply it by the mass of the part. Right, and we can see that that comes out to be $428 or so. So the equations can be used in cut list properties as well. And the plate in the cut list is used 4 times, and we know that we want the total length of all of the plates. So again, we can just define a property name, choose equation as the type, and multiply the quantity of plates by the individual length, which gives us a result of about 20 inches. All right, so there we have it. Parts are, of course, the foundation of everything that we're building in SolidWorks. So some pretty cool enhancements there. I'd have to say my favorite might actually be the color picker. Again, a small one, but I really love that one. Do we have any questions there, Jim?
I agree on the color picker, Jess. I'm
So
constantly like copying and pasting. But there was one question about the sheet metal, the material on the bends. Does SolidWorks do any sort of calculations on thinning it out or anything like that, or is it strictly just like kind of like a form feature like they used to handle it?
Yeah, that's a great question. No, as far as I know, there's no kind of deformation calculating in there. It's just that they allow you to actually make the geometry now. So I'd have to double check on that, but I don't think it's doing any calculations in the background for deformation yet.
Would like the advanced flatten tool be useful in a part like that, or am I mixing tools up?
It's possible that does more of it. It does mesh the geometry, but it really is just kind of like a stretch in that area. So it might be a little bit difficult to fine tune for thickness differences there, but it could give you something more.
No, very, very cool. And the 3MF support with the able to print in the colors. I know that's a big thing for our 3D printing team here is that, they're getting models that are fully colored, and then, traditionally they'd have to reapply the colors to get them to print out on our objet stuff and whatnot. So
Yeah, exactly. I know we were talking to the print group just the other day, actually looking for something to print out, and I haven't tested it on our printers yet, but I'm excited to give it a try.
very cool.
Really, guys? Equations? Come on. Equations and custom properties? I've been asked that at least like 400 times over the years.
We left that. We knew that was going to be your favorite, so we left it.
All right. Fair enough.
All right. And the one other thing I noticed in the chat is the weldment trim, the miter trim. That was an exciting thing as well. So
yeah.
All right.
Yeah, absolutely.
So far, I think Jesse's in the lead, but let's see what Franco's got coming up here for the assemblies.
Yeah.
Let's see. Hopefully, he's got some cool
Assemblies
stuff.
are definitely.
All right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's turn it over to Franco and see what exciting things he has.
All right. Cool. Thank you, guys. And yeah, absolutely. I definitely like the parts enhancements in 2021, but I think assemblies are where we're going to go. This is where we're going to really excel. So as you guys know, assemblies are one of my favorite segments in our What's New presentations. And I know all of you guys like them too. So again, we have a little competition going. I'm going to be honest with you guys. Whoever gets the most comments in the chat between me and Jesse owes the other one owes him a beer. So keep commenting on mine, and then radio silence when Jesse goes on his. All right? Can we do that? All right. So like I said, this year's no different. Assemblies are going to be really exciting, and what I'm about to show you is going to make your time spent in assemblies more efficient and hopefully less stressful. Then I'm going to pass over the mic to Jesse. Actually, we split this one in half just because there's so much in assemblies this year, and he's going to amaze you with some assembly performance enhancements. And you're going to see the assembly performance got really, really good stuff this year in 2021. So let's take a look at mates first in SolidWorks 2021. They streamlined the property manager. So let's go ahead and add a mate, a coincident mate between these two faces. And if we take a look at the mate dialog, we can see that instead of expanding the sections for each group type, there's now tabs for each group, making it easier to find the correct mate. And if we take a look at the mate that we just created, if I flip the mate alignment, you know what's going to happen, right? We get the question on what to do with all the other mates that are attached to this one, right? Excuse me. It's going to, choosing no means over-defining the other mates to solve for the new alignment, which creates more work to fix those other mates. Choosing yes would have avoided this issue by instead flipping all the other mate alignments. Okay, we've all seen this box before. In SolidWorks 2021, there's a new system option under assemblies to choose how to always select one of these choices or to keep asking you every time. So that's really handy. So it's not going to, it doesn't necessarily have to ask you every single time. So choosing always will by default flip the alignment of all the other mates. And this is going to save you just a little bit of time and some confusion and ensures you always get the results that you want. All right. So next, we're going to create a slot mate. So when creating slot mates in SolidWorks 2021, you can now choose the default type of position in a slot mate. In this example, the center slot has been selected as the default choice. So you can see it jumps right to the center of the slot. There's also the option to lock the rotation of a slot mate, just like in concentric mates. And the default slot mate location is also a new setting. This is a document property though, but it's going to eliminate the need to regularly change the location type when adding a new slot mate to your designs, saving you a little bit of extra time and accidentally choosing the wrong constraint. So again, I just want to remind you that this is a document property. So if you're going to save a new template, you have to save it in the template. Okay. So for next, what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at assembly patterns. And SolidWorks has always offered the ability to change the configuration of each component instance within a pattern. And sometimes you may just want all of the patterns or all the components to reference the same original instance. This can be time consuming to do one at a time. New in SolidWorks 2021 is the option to synchronize the configurations of all the component instances created by the pattern. It's a mouthful to say, but it's pretty obvious what it's going to do, right? It's always going to keep the component instances synced up with the seed of the pattern. All right, so this option also accidentally helps or change from accidentally changing the configuration of any one of the components. by disabling the drop-down menu, and it grays it out in the component properties dialog too. So let's go ahead and change the configuration of the seed component and watch them all change. Pretty cool, huh? Finally, let's take a look at interference detection. It's a powerful tool to quickly find issues in our design. And if you've ever taken SolidWorks Essentials, you know that we devote a bit of time to this in the last lessons of the book. All right, SolidWorks 2021 now offers you the option to save the results out in a spreadsheet, an Excel spreadsheet. So that's pretty cool. You can kind of export all of these results. You don't have to look at them in SolidWorks. We even have the option to capture a screenshot of each interference so they can be shared and reviewed with others. Okay, this is a new way. This new way to take a look at the interferences is really cool. Again, in collaboration. SolidWorks is all about collaboration, especially this year in 2021. So here we can see the spreadsheet that came up. We can see the really nice screenshots. Interferences are all labeled, and the volume is all labeled, and everything like that. So it's a really cool feature, real cool enhancement to assemblies in 2021. All right. So again, those are just some of the features to assemblies. I'm going to now pass it over to Jesse, and I'll fully admit this is probably going to knock your socks off better than some of the feature enhancements, but you just wait. I still have a lot more presentation to go after Jesse. So let's pass it over right to Jesse.
All right, thanks, Franco. So we're going to do some assembly performance options here, and I think Franco's right. These are actually really, really cool. We've got some impressive performance enhancements, and I'll admit here, I don't always love presenting performance data because numbers can really say whatever they want, but it's kind of the seat of the pants experience that really matters, right? Does it feel any faster? And I really think you guys are going to notice a difference here. I feel like this release feels really snappy to me. So that makes me even more excited to share these numbers with you. So let's take a look at a few of these here. Open times for both resolved and lightweight assemblies have been improved in SolidWorks 2021. This assembly has over 2,000 parts, and it only opens in about 21 seconds. So it will make it faster to get into your design work this year. The larger the assembly, the greater the gains you should see while in lightweight mode. And as cool as that is, I think that this next change I'm going to show is one of the most powerful changes to performance optimization that I've seen in quite a long time. So let's take a look here how the transition from lightweight to resolved now works. There's a much more streamlined approach to getting access to the information that you need. So this year, just expanding a component out from the feature manager tree will now dynamically load those components on demand, giving you access to the fully resolved subassembly or part. So no more right-clicking and resolving components or assemblies one at a time, just expand it out and it gets resolved for you sort of automatically. I've already been using this quite a bit, and it really does take a lot, if not all of the residual inconvenience out of working with lightweight components. I really do like that a lot. Working with configurations is now also faster in SolidWorks 2021. Both creating new configurations and switching between them is quite a bit quicker. In a moment, we'll talk about how that can be combined with another new enhancement to really improve performance while retaining detail. But performance evaluation has always been a valuable resource in SolidWorks to give you some insight into the areas of the design that cause performance issues. And new for SolidWorks 2021 is the analysis and reporting of those pesky circular references in your assembly. Bum, bum, bum. All right, so in this case, two holes on two separate parts have been found to reference one another. And we can use this information to investigate the model and figure out what it is we need to fix. So by isolating these two components, we can quickly figure out what the issue is here. And in this scenario, one of these components that's listed in the report contains a hole wizard feature. And the locations of the center points are concentric with the edges of the hole in the next part over. And this is kind of a common top-down design practice just to make sure all of your holes stay lined up, right? However, when we look at the second component's hole wizard, we'll see that it has a similar situation. All right, but it appears that the center points here, when we look at them, are referencing back to the edges of the previous holes. So since both features are trying to define the location of each other, we have a circular reference. All right, and to fix this scenario, all we need to do is remove the external references and redefine the locations of the hole, which in this case we'll just do with some dimensions. All right, and once the holes are redefined, all of our changes have been made. A quick rebuild will remove any of the warnings in the assembly, and we're all set to go there. So this year it's much quicker, much easier to zoom in on those problem areas that we might have, clear up those issues nicely, nice, quick, and efficiently. And finally, we'll move over to an enhancement to the Silhouette Defeature tool, which was introduced in 2019. And this allows us to create simplified representations for performance gains or to protect your IP. But the Silhouette Defeature really provides a nice step-by-step workflow, as we'll see here. So while you're selecting the components, bodies or subassemblies, whatever you're grabbing, this will always have this nice side-by-side view to show what's finished and what it will look like when you're finished with the defeature mode. The simplification methods range from shapes like the bounding box or cylindrical representation to things that are a little bit more complex, like the polygon or the tight fit ones. And those ones just add a little bit more detail to the final results. All right, in this example, we use a variety of methods to approximate the shapes in the subassembly. And this process can apply different methods to different parts. So we can kind of tailor the amount of detail that's retained in each section. We've used all of the simplification methods except for none, and there may be times when some of those components in your subassembly are critical to show in all of their detail. So for those instances, you can choose the copy geometry method or the none to capture all the detail in those. So you can see they just copy right over. All right, so the Silhouette Defeature tool in 2021 now has the ability to save this as a configuration within the same assembly from which it was created. All right, so this eliminates the need to have to manage all of the separate files for the simplified model. Everything is just contained in one place. You may still want to use those other options if you're sending the file out to somebody and you just want to remove the detail or remove some IP out of it. But now you've got the flexibility to either keep it together or completely separate them depending on your purpose. So when you're using defeatured models with higher level assemblies, it's now just as simple as right-clicking on the component and choosing that defeatured version of it. Right, so just a right-click here, use defeatured, and it will switch itself over, which is pretty cool. So those defeatured assembly configurations really provide a nice way to add some performance boost by choosing essentially when you need the detail. So speaking of performance boost, let's move on to some graphics performance enhancements here. And the graphics performance mode was introduced in SolidWorks 2019 as well. And that really fundamentally changed how the graphics are handled by SolidWorks in your certified graphics card by providing much higher frame rates and much smoother response. And let's take a look at how that has progressed here this year as well. All right, so this system option, which again you can find under the performance settings, is now enabled by default in SolidWorks 2021. So that's good to know. The only thing that we've noticed is if you carry over your settings and you had it checked off, it may still remain checked off. So if you do want to use it, I would recommend going and checking it. If you don't want to use it, I would recommend checking it as well. So just be aware that it's there. It is intended to be checked on by default. And to see the difference here, we'll compare this setting enabled and disabled side by side, just running a macro. And that macro will just repeat the same 500 mouse rotations, and we can kind of compare what happens between the two here. So it's clear to see that the graphics performance is going to be significantly faster, but take a look at this comparison. So the actions took less than 8 seconds and ran an average of 63 frames per second with the graphics boost enabled. And meanwhile, with the setting disabled, it took nearly 162 seconds at an average of about 3 frames per second to do the same movements. So we're talking of a difference of 8 seconds versus 3 minutes, essentially, between those two, with just that checkbox turned on and off, rotating the model. Now, if you haven't tried the graphics performance option yet, 2021 provides two new reasons that you should give it a try. The first is working with hidden lines removed and hidden lines visible. And we can see this here with this model. Calculating silhouette edges is always graphically complex task, but previously that was handled by the CPU. And in SolidWorks 2021, all of those calculations are now handled by the graphics card, by the GPU. So in the case of this assembly, there's a lot of silhouette edges that we have to calculate across the model. And like before, the difference is crazy. With the GPU silhouette edges, this example ran in less than 5 seconds at over 100 frames a second. With it disabled, again, it was 170 seconds and only averaged less than 4 frames per second. So that's a massive difference in speed when working in those two modes. Now, the second enhancement is the addition of occlusion culling technology in the graphics performance. And this is actually really clever. If you follow me on LinkedIn or Twitter, you may have seen that I posted a demo of the Unreal Engine 5 when it came out a little while ago. And one of the things that I thought was really cool about it was that it was able to take huge amounts of detail and then only render what mattered to improve the performance. And that's exactly what occlusion culling does for us here in SolidWorks. It's just rendering what's in view. So if it doesn't see it, it doesn't need to be rendered. So let's take a look at an example of this here. So with a special development build, the occlusion culling has been paused, so we can actually see what it's doing in the background here. And you can see that several of the components that were previously out of view were never rendered by the graphics card. So they were hiding in the back from that view. The graphics card didn't need to process them, so it didn't. It left them out. And obviously this is just paused for example purposes so we can see what it would do there. So another case here where the more components you have, the more likely you are to see benefits from that as well, because the more likely there are components that won't need to be rendered by the card. So some pretty cool enhancements there. Like I said, I have noticed a difference already. I was texting Franco and Jimmy last night, working with an assembly with configurations. Like, man, this switches almost instantly. It's really cool. So what do we have, Jimmy? Do we have any questions on any of that in the chat?
Some awesome stuff. A couple of comments. One question I have is, do I need any sort of special video card or anything like that to take advantage of that new? Is it a specific OpenGL format or something like that?
Right. So I will say that this version, it will be more sensitive to making sure you've got a certified setup if you're using that mode. So I would say any of the newer versions that are certified, you'd probably be in good shape. We'd be here for a while just listing off specifics, and I don't know exactly off the top of my head. But I will say that you probably want to be on a certified setup with a certified driver before you go testing that for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think the newer the card, the better your success rate is going to be. I think newer card, newer driver. Obviously, if you're working on older hardware, we're going to have to be careful. But the enhancements are amazing.
Yeah, very cool. But like Franco said, you are taxing your card a lot harder, because it's offloading a lot of that from the CPU to your GPU.
And from the tech support side, SolidWorks did kind of make a shift in the drivers. Instead of testing specific driver versions, they're just testing the entire branch numbers now. So you may notice it just says for like an NVIDIA card, the R440 branch. The nice part is that it's one driver for a multitude of different cards. It's been nice for us from the training perspective because we have varying pieces of hardware throughout the office, and we used to have to go find the separate specific driver for each hardware setup, whereas NVIDIA seems to just use the entire 440 branch for all cards that are a Quadro series type setup. So
yeah, that's a good point too.
Very cool.
But I think all in all, my favorite is the resolved to lightweight. No more right clicking on it. I mean, that's just kind of going back to that. I love, as soon as I read that in the what's new, I'm like, oh my God, that's the first thing I tested. It was really cool.
Yeah, me too. And like I said, I was using that last night when I was working with that assembly, and it is awesome. It's so convenient.
Yeah, that I think ruling goes to Jesse on this side for the cool factor. purely because of the.
As a tip, though, from a tech support standpoint, as a tip, if you're working in an assembly for a long time, make sure you right-click and set it back to lightweight, though, because I mean, as you're dropping through, right, you're resolving all of those. So make sure that you remember to go back in. It's going to be easy to forget to go back in and set those to lightweight.
It's nice you don't have to think about it.
And it doesn't also seem to do it if you have the option to expand your tree out with the selection. So if you're selecting in the graphics area and you have that option to expand, it doesn't load it there. So it doesn't, you're not accidentally loading things. It's just when you go use the feature manager. So they thought that out.
All right. So it looks like Franco has drawings next. So I don't know how you got to draw the cool part, but I think you and Jesse probably brawled over this for points, but yeah, I'm excited to see what's new in drawing. So we'll turn it over to Franco and let him blow all of our minds. I expect to see the chat explode with emojis and happy faces, Franco. So.
All right.
You're good.
By the way, I was just kidding about the radio silence when Jesse's talking. Please don't do that. I don't want to bruise his ego or anything. So, if you are excited, let us know in the chat for sure. So I get to do drawings. I got to skip drawings the past couple years of these rollouts. So it was my turn. I got a short list though. While the list may not look long, I can't wait to show you some of these enhancements. It's actually kind of mirrors what Jesse was just talking about. A lot of our enhancements and drawings are for performance, and they kind of piggyback on that assembly performance that Jesse was just talking about. So, but they took a huge leap in drawing performance this year, and again, there's more side-by-side videos. So let's hop right into those videos and take a look. Okay. So when working with large assemblies and drawings, the view manipulation is vital to a good experience, right? And over the years, SolidWorks has worked really, really hard to optimize the view manipulations on the screen. Detailing mode was introduced in SolidWorks 2020 to allow us to open massive drawings in seconds. And I'm going to show you in a little bit how much more they've added to detailing mode. Okay, but first, what we're going to do is we're going to do a side-by-side comparison of SolidWorks 2020 and SolidWorks 2021 with the enhanced graphics mode that Jesse was kind of talking about before. So here we have SolidWorks 2020 on the left and SolidWorks 2021 on the right. The same 5-sheet drawing is open in both. This is a top-level assembly drawing, and the same 5-sheet is open in both. And let's start by panning the drawing in SolidWorks 2020. Okay, it does an okay job, but you can see there's a lag as the drawing does, it doesn't really follow the mouse. Now I know we're streaming this over YouTube, and I know there's a little bit of a lag on YouTube, but on my end, this looks silky smooth. There's no lag between any of the panning. We're zooming it in now. There's no lag in the zoom at all. Okay, so now let's pan and zoom over in SolidWorks 2020. Okay, so let's do the same thing in SolidWorks 2020. And we can see, even with the YouTube lag, there is some latency, right? This is bad because you can sometimes overshoot your zoom, overshoot your pan, right? And then you just spend time trying to find what you're looking for, okay? So even when zoomed in, it's a little bit better. The scroll bar is a little bit better, but in SolidWorks 2021, silky smooth. All right. The second sheet of this drawing contains even more views. Again, this is a 2,400 part assembly, and the performance difference is even more pronounced. Okay. For years, the SolidWorks development team has been working diligently to write code and partner with video card vendors to continue to raise the bar for their performance. This enhanced graphics performance, like Jesse was talking about, it is paired with the modern OpenGL 4.5, and that's what we were kind of alluding to when we were talking about drivers and new hardware. It's that OpenGL 4.5 graphics cards. But SolidWorks 2021, man, I tell you, these are silky smooth to pan and zoom in your big drawings. Okay, now let's take a look at the detailing mode. This is what I was talking about before. Okay, so detailing mode was introduced last year, and it provides a way to open huge drawings in seconds. Okay, and last year there was a huge list of what we could and couldn't do, and now in SolidWorks 2021, they gave us the ability, in detailing mode, they gave us the ability to edit and add dimensions and annotations right within detailing mode. And remember, the model doesn't get loaded, so sharing the drawing files is super easy. I'll talk a little bit more about that later on. So here we have this note, and like I said, we're going to edit annotations. Existing notes can be edited, and you have full access to all the note editing tools. Okay. If we take a look at the front view, we see that this front view is broken with foreshortened dimensions, but the top view isn't. Detailing mode in 2021 now supports broken views, cropped views, and even detail views. So let's go ahead and break the top view in 3 places, just like it is in the front view. So to the left, in the center here, and come on, in the center, and then on the right. Okay, so you can see that all the break views are available along with the break line styles and the gaps and things like that. Okay, ordinate dimensions are also supported, and now we can add additional things to the ordinate dimensions. Okay, we're going to do that here to these edges and these center lines. Okay, so you can add dimensions to the ordinate views. Detail views are also now, we can add detail views in this mode as well, the same way as if the drawing was fully resolved. Okay, so we can add a detail view here. We just make our circle and place the view. Okay, and when detailing drawings, sometimes it's common to define hole information. And now in SolidWorks 2021, detailing mode supports hole callouts as well. It didn't support them in the past. Okay, so we'll go ahead and add a hole callout for this hole. And it's even smart enough, if I add a dimension here, to add a foreshortened dimension to these to this detail view. Okay. Also, existing dimensions now have full editing capability. Let's go ahead and add a symmetric tolerance to this dimension. Okay. All the dimension properties are now available, including tolerance and precision. Okay. But the enhancements to drawing environment don't stop there. Regardless of how you open a drawing, the dimension tool has been enhanced to make it easier to create dimensions. Okay, let's go ahead and add some dimensions in here. Okay, we'll add a dimension here. And if you notice that the second selection, it's kind of tough to see, so I'm going to do it twice. The second selection, it actually makes the text and the dimension transparent. So you can select through the dimension, and it's easier to select to see what you're selecting. Okay. Next up, VDA balloons are used in the German automotive industry, and they're a requirement for many of our European customers. And now we can do VDA balloons and notes to allow users to tag inspection dimensions and inspection points per VDA requirements. Just a checkbox in the property manager here. Okay, and just like every other annotation in SolidWorks, you can easily modify its position and rotation. And an even cooler feature that I really like is that VDA balloons can be read in by SolidWorks inspection. And then finally, when you have a sketch geometry on your drawing, which a lot of times you do, you have to add sketch relations, right? Just like we do in a sketch, we don't want our sketches blowing up. Well, now in 2021, we can see right here that they've added these sketch relation tools right from, just like it works in a sketch, right from the pop-up. So you don't have to go all the way to the left-hand side to the property manager to add sketch relations. So that's really cool. So every year in SolidWorks, drawing enhancements get the most oohs and ahs. And this year, again, like I keep mentioning, we can't hear them, so make sure you type them all up in the chat, okay? So let's, I'm going to go back here and we'll review these. Again, a lot of drawing performance, a lot of detailing mode enhancements in SolidWorks 2021. And I just want to reiterate that the detailing mode does not load the model in the background. So you can even open a model in drawing in detailing mode without having access to any of the files, which is really, really cool. So Jim, I'm going to pass it back to you. And do we have any questions in the chat that we can talk about, or let's talk about what your favorite features are?
Thanks, Franco. That's some cool stuff. Well, Tom DeLora is happy about your drawings enhancements. So I know that's always the cool part and the part that we enjoy because it's generally the area that people use the most. I definitely think my favorite thing was the amount of stuff that you just did in the detailing mode without actually loading the model. And I might date myself here, but I remember way back with the detached drawings and when that was kind of a new thing and you know, being excited over the usage of that. And it seems like it's just come so far at this point.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, no more, you know, unless you're making like brand new views or changing your model geometry, you know, always start with opening it in detailing mode because it's just so much faster.
Yeah.
As silly as it sounds, again, I like the small enhancement, just moving those sketch relations right to the cursor in drawings. It's like, why wasn't that there before? That's so handy. Not that you sketch a whole lot in drawings, but every time you do go to put something in, it's like, ah, shoot, I got to move all the way over. Tiny little thing, but again, so nice.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to getting some customer assemblies drawings that are really big to see if that zoom and pan actually, you know, does what it does on not a demo set.
Yeah.
I'm sure it will, but I'm really excited to see.
I've got some
I
in
mean, like I
mind.
said,
I'm
yeah,
sure you
I don't
do.
know. I don't know how those would be too much smoke and mirrors there. That's a fairly decent sized assembly that we're working at there.
Yep.
Yeah, and the just the number of edges that are on the screen when it, you know, is a little bit choppy. And I was watching the live stream. It did come through the difference, so it was nice to be able to see that. Um,
Oh, okay, good.
so moving on, before we get to kind of closing the loop on the SolidWorks side, we're going to move on to some of the other products here. I did want to mention, and I can't remember if we did previously, that Jesse launched a bunch of videos at the beginning of this webinar on our launch page, right, Jess? For the other products?
Yeah. Yep. Same URL. Yep. A bunch of the people who are in the chat made some videos for you guys. So the auxiliary products should be all up there. Should be live at about the same time.
Visualize, Sim.
Yep. Composer, all of the PDM, manage, all the good stuff.
Action cam. List goes
There
on.
was
and
just
on.
so much we couldn't slide it all in here, and figured we'd make some videos, and the rest of the team here at CADimensions was more than happy to help out and make some videos. So give them some love, give them some thumbs up and likes on the videos they produced. But we're going to shift gears a little bit, and Jesse's going to talk about e-drawings and some of the enhancements. I don't know how they could make it better, but I'm excited to hear what you have to say. So I'll turn it over to you. And
I'm stealing. I'm
Frank is
stealing.
going to take that.
oh, you're still going to do it? Hey, this is kind of unbalanced here, guys. I mean, I feel like
He's trying to get more
airtime. All right, well, we'll let Franco have this one, but we got to take that into consideration on the scaling. So.
All right. So those of you that know me know that I really love e-drawings. For whatever reason, I really like the product. So if we take a look at this list, the list isn't long, but it's certainly going to make sharing your SolidWorks files to non-SolidWorks people a lot more seamless and easier than ever before. So let's jump right in to a couple of quick e-drawings enhancements. Okay. Now in e-drawings, you can view custom and configuration specific properties right within the e-drawings viewer. I know a few of you on this video have asked for this in the past, and I know I've talked to a few of you. And so it's really, really cool that you can add, that you can see the custom properties and configuration specific properties right from in here. And finally, you know, we can share the metadata that we're so used to in SolidWorks with people not even using SolidWorks. So it's pretty cool. Commands like the measure tool has been significantly improved as well. We can find the center-to-center distance of two cylindrical or circular or cylindrical objects. We've been able to do that for a while, but now in eDrawings 2021, you can see the little preview here. We can do minimum distance and maximum distance as well. So that's kind of cool. It's, again, more like SolidWorks. You can also measure the normal distance between planar and cylindrical faces. Again, working more and more like the SolidWorks measure tool. And next, sharing your design. And we actually tested this a little earlier. Sharing your design without the requirement to install eDrawings is easier than ever. You just save it as a new file type called web.html. Okay, it's not a new file type, it's new to us. Web.html now allows you to, any browser that you have can open these files. It's pretty cool. So here we have an example of that. It allows you to pan, rotate, zoom, view configurations and exploded states and section views, all sorts of stuff. The web.html format now supports measuring as well, which is basically it's full-blown eDrawings inside your web browser. So you can just share this HTML file. It's a single file, and you can share it with anyone. And they basically have full eDrawings in their web browser. It's pretty cool. And then lastly, what we have here is in the web HTML, we have the ability to move and rotate bodies and interrogate large projects without having to dig through an assembly tree. Okay, so like I said, I keep saying this over and over again. This web HTML format is basically like a zero weight eDrawings viewer, because it's just right within any modern browser. And we tested this on Chrome, and it works really, really well. It even works on our phones. A little bit earlier, we were testing it on our phones, and it works really well. So again, not a long list, but eDrawings 2021 gives us the features we've been asking for make communication between SolidWorks and non-SolidWorks users seamless. So I really, really like that. So I'm going to pass it back to Jim, and I don't know if anyone typed in any of the chat, but we can certainly talk about both the features.
Yeah, thank you. And actually, one of the questions that came up for me personally with the eDrawings was in the past, we always had trouble sending the zip files through email. I did receive an email from Franco, and I do have it open on my phone, and it actually works pretty cool. Directly from the email, I was able to open the web HTML of your file. So super excited to be able to utilize that new technology with so many people on the go and working from different places. I mean, obviously the three of us aren't in the same office anymore, so you know we're making do, and tools like this are definitely helping out.
This is an excellent segue, Jim.
Yes, to Jesse's favorite new topic, the 3D experience, and it's much more, like Jesse alluded to, than just a web portal platform thing. So we'll let Jesse talk a little bit about how this tool can help remote situations. You're good.
All right, thanks, Jim. So yeah, that was not even an intentional, very good transition into what I want to talk about with 3D Experience here real quick. The 3D Experience platform uses a concept called the 6W tags to filter, find your content on the platform. And it's just kind of an efficient way to find your way through the noise to get to what you need. So hopefully I'm going to use this to try to guide our conversation today, and hopes that it will kind of do the same for us. I think there is a lot of noise when it comes to information on the 3D Experience platform. And some of that might just be that when you have a tool that can do almost anything, it can be difficult to figure out what you could or should be doing with it. So I'm going to take these tags and sort of turn them into these questions. So the 6 tags are your standard who, what, where, when, why, how kind of questions. And I'm going to expand those out to these questions that we'll try to answer here briefly for you. All right, so we'll start out with a question that you might be surprised to hear me say is, why should we care? But I do think it's important to have sort of a candid conversation about this, because the truth is we have excellent set of tools with SolidWorks, that whole ecosystem. And it's a set of tools that we've been promoting to you and working with you over the past 25 years. And if you look at the progress that those tools have made in that span of time, it seems almost impossible. But if we already have what we need, then why should we be looking at something else? And I think probably the best way that we can answer that, or I can answer that, is to just share my thoughts, some of our thoughts on why we're excited about this technology that's coming along with the 3D Experience platform. And I have 3 things that I briefly want to talk about in that vein. The first one is hardware independence. Who likes buying new computers? Nobody. We all like using new computers, but nobody likes buying new computers, right? So SolidWorks will still be a local install when using this system, like it's always been. But so many of the tools that are available on the platform are fully browser-based. So if you've been a CADimensions customer for a while, you may remember me doing a demo of SolidWorks on my Mac Mini years ago at one of our rollouts. And to do that, we were using a fairly expensive NVIDIA grid system that was handling all of the heavy lifting. And with the 3D Experience platform, you don't even need any of that extra layer of overhead, right? You just need a browser. You need internet access, essentially, to get to most of the tools that you'll be using in this system. So this gives us a path to really start offloading things, offloading responsibilities from our local hardware. So even if you still want to run SolidWorks locally, can we offload the PDM server? Can we offload simulation capabilities? Can we offload maybe rendering tools? So it gives us a lot of options for lowering our hardware requirements. And when it comes time to upgrade, we don't have to put everybody on pause to get local hardware straightened around or update clients and things like that. It just happens on the back end. So there are some really cool benefits to a system like that from that perspective. The second thing is, of course, mobility and access. So how many times have you gone somewhere and you realize that the files you were planning to work with are they're on my other computer, or they're on a hard drive, which is on my desk, or they're wherever you aren't, right? That kind of thing happens all the time, happens to me anyway. So that kind of thing doesn't happen when your data is all on a central location that's accessible from the web, right? So if you've got a device, you've got a connection, you can get yourself back to what it is you're going to work on, and you're back in business, right? Now, collaboration is the third thing that I'm going to put in here, and obviously this is one that they focus fairly heavily on, and rightly so, for this type of a tool. And with work being done, all over the world, so many people being remote, especially these days, this is a huge benefit, I think. And there are some great collaboration tools out there. I've used quite a few of them. But what I like specifically about this tool is that it's centered around the engineering data, and none of the other ones really seem to do that. This is a system that's obviously purpose-built for that. But it really allows you to integrate the data that you already have, the data that you're already making, and pull that into the collaboration process. And that's what I think this is special about this system. Okay, so that discussion actually kind of answers some of the other questions for us too. So who is it for? Well, of course, everybody has different needs, so my recommendation would, of course, be just give us a call. But the obvious answer here is it's got a wide audience. I would recommend checking out this option if you're struggling with any of the three things that I just discussed, though. If you're struggling with data access or consistency, or if you're struggling with upfront cost of getting your own data management tools set up, or having a hard time connecting resources together, right? All of those things are part of that system. And where can it be used? Obviously, we kind of touched on that too. The answer is literally anywhere for the majority of it. So assuming you've got SolidWorks as your primary design tool, that's still local. But outside of that, most of the rest of that work can be done wherever you are. All right, so the next question then is, what can it do? And this is obviously a loaded question, but we're going to try to break this down, as we mentioned, as Franco mentioned early in the presentation, into just a few brief slices of capabilities for you here. All right, so let's start with a simple example of how engineering data might be discussed and progressed on a daily basis. So say, for example, we've got this engineer named Eric. He's working in SolidWorks desktop right now. All right, so with the 3D Experience platform running in his task pane, he gets a notification from his manager, Megan. And by clicking on the pop-up, it opens his 3D Swim app, and he sees a discussion thread here involving a new design request. So they're asking him to add in some rollers to an existing assembly here. So he can search directly for the model that he needs to work on. And when he finds that model, he can drag it directly into his SolidWorks session here. So just search it up, drag and drop, and that will pull the data from the cloud into his session here. And with a right click, he can go ahead and reserve this, so he has right access to start doing some work on this particular set of components. And once he makes his design changes, we'll skip over that part. You guys know what you're doing there. He wants to make sure he knows where the assembly is used before saving it. So a quick tap on the Relations app, and you can get a nice graphical view of the parent-child dependencies. And he sees that he finds here the top-level assembly, which he can then load right in. You'll notice that he used lightweight mode, just like we always would when opening a model into SolidWorks, especially given the enhancements that I showed earlier. But in this case, of course, we might be downloading some data. So if you are using those lightweight modes, that can be nice for not having to download things back and forth. Now, when we've got this loaded in, we see that we can, again, right click right in the top level, and we can go ahead and reserve that so we can make our change to the top level. So a right click there and reserve and save. All right, so we can go ahead and add in a new revision of the component that Eric just made a change to. Checkbox on there, hit save. And now our data is headed back to our secure storage on the platform. All right, so we've done some design work, and let's say, for example, that Eric now has to head out of the office. He's still got some work to do, top assembly, into Product Structure Explorer. And this just gives us a nice graphical view and a list view kind of side by side. That can be arranged and filtered out however you like. So just makes it nice and easy to find. In this case, locate the new components that we've just created, these rollers. In this case, we want to add and attach a PDF to these files with installation instructions. So again, this is a nice way to keep things all in one place. Add the components, take the documentation, and stick them right to the part or assembly, in this case itself. All right, now it's time to update the team at this point, and this is where I think things get cool. So instead of an email, a phone call, or a web meeting, or whatever you want to use, he can create an interactive dashboard and have exactly the information that he wants his manager to review. So basically, he can send information as he sees it on his screen to be reviewed. So he's created a 3D Play viewing app. You can think of this kind of like an embedded e-drawings view. Grabs a screenshot so he can post that back to the discussion thread while he's at it. And then next, he launches the Bookmarks app, which is just a convenient way of organizing your shortcuts to things you want quick access to. Notice how easy the interface is to customize. You guys know I have a soft spot for interface customization. When he's ready to share the dashboard, you just copy a link to that, and all of the applicable information that needs to be reviewed is all there in one link for his manager to check out, or whoever is involved in this process. So to finish this off, he just takes that link and puts that back into their design discussions here. You can add a comment, put the link in, add a screenshot for extra clarity, make sure everyone's looking at the same thing. And everyone's up to date with all of the information specifically that they have to look at for that particular change. So when you're connecting SolidWorks to the platform, you really kind of get the best of both worlds there, because you can continue using your SolidWorks tool as your design tool, but then you can allow that to get the data up to the cloud where everyone has access to it from wherever they might need to be. Cool. All right. So I'm going to pass it back to Franco here in a moment. Did we have any questions here, Jimmy? Franco's promising he's going to blow everyone's mind with this next part, and I suspect he will. But any questions on that?
I think so.
Some cool stuff, and I will say that I was also a struggler with crap. I left this file at the office, or I forgot to upload it to my drive. Whatever it may be, and being able to just turn on an add-in, very similar to like turning a PDM add-in on, and then being able to have my stuff just pushed to the cloud with all that additional stuff. That workflow post thing that you had over there on the right is pretty cool, to be able to just kind of keep a project in order, and the updates for that project stay in that project.
Exactly. Yeah, you end up with just one place to check for things, which is nice. And of course, it's searchable too.
Yeah. And I mean, what you showed, that's between like just two people. Imagine if you had a team of 5 or 6 people working on the same project, the same assembly, you're always communicating and always talking. It's a consistent place to all communicate and all share data too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it definitely seems centered around CAD versus, I know, some of the other collaboration tools we have. There's tough to connect everything. So very cool. I like that. Franco, how are you going to blow my mind? What do you got?
I'm going to build on what Jesse was saying. So
all right. So let's see what Franco's excitement is all about, because he's smiling like he's happy and got some good stuff to show. So he might have some tricks up his sleeve. You're good.
All right. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how we take what Jesse was talking about, kind of jump halfway into the life cycle of a certain design, and we're going to kind of switch gears a little bit. And see, we're going to take it up a notch, and you can kind of already see from the image what I'm starting to show you, right? We're going to use a few different examples to show the breadth of the products for simulation or validation. Okay, this right here, what we're looking at is the Moto knee by a company called Biodapt. And if you were at SolidWorks World last year, or 3D Experience World last year, you saw these guys up on stage, and it's pretty cool. But if you weren't, this is a prosthetic leg, obviously, that has extreme sports in mind. So it has to withstand higher than usual force and higher than usual shock loads. So let's jump halfway through a design cycle and see how the 3D experience can streamline the workflow and get this product out the door faster and more safely as well. All right, so this is the first revision of the frame of the Moto Knee, and this is the company's dashboard on 3D experience. And we see that our analyst found a mechanical issue with this revision. From the simulation results, we can see from what we're looking at that right from any web browser, we can see the simulation results. And this bottom bracket is flexing way too much. There's too much stress and there's too much displacement in this bottom bracket. So we need to make some changes. So let's go back to SolidWorks, right? This is the SolidWorks we all know and love. And let's design a new bracket, okay? Obviously, this is way fast forwarded, but we have this new bracket design, and we want to make sure that this new design is going to be strong enough to meet our needs. The simulation apps in our structured designer role can guide us through all the steps to validate the strength of our new design. And the built-in assistant makes it easy to add loads and restraints and fixtures and materials and all sorts of things. And so that kind of walks us through the steps. Okay, we'll just add some loads. We'll run the simulation here. Okay, and what it does is, and because we're all in the same environment, our analyst can take a look at these results. Okay, and just looking at the stresses in here. Once we're confident in our new design, now that we've seen all this, we update the Moto Knee assembly, and we can change and we can update the revision. Okay, so we can send it there, and we can just update the revision in the assembly right within the dashboard. Okay. So when then the analyst sees this, and he can do it all, and he can rerun his analysis at the top level. Okay, and since both the designer and the design and the simulation data are stored and connected on the 3D Experience platform, the analyst can easily create the new simulation. Okay, so he's going to use the assistant as well to make sure he doesn't miss anything, and now we can compare the results. Right? We can compare the results from the two studies, the first study on the left and the new study on the right. And we can confirm that the new Moto Knee lower bracket is now strong enough and it doesn't see all that same displacement. So again, it's all about the collaboration, and whether or not you're an analyst or not, you can work in conjunction. Whether you take a part out, make a new part, you can swap parts out just like you would as if you were on the same network, but you're doing it wherever you are. It doesn't matter wherever you are, and the communication is opened way up. Okay. So I mentioned before that the platform has the horsepower to increase the complexity. The advanced Simulia solver can solve even the most complex problems. Here's some examples of that, and this is why I take the cake in these slides, right? Here's some large deformation, dynamics, multi-physics capabilities. Here, there's a bird strike on an airfoil, right? A three-stage sheet metal forming, right? So large displacement, sheet metal forming. Next slide here, fluid-filled container, right? Multi-physics, being crushed and the fluid spilling out. And we have large deformation of this rubber gasket, right? This is probably one of my favorite animations, right? Look at the deformation. Look at the complex buckling in that example. I'm going to let that play a couple more times because it's really, really cool. I love these two animations. And there's so much more to it than that. I have one more slide, though. There's so much more that I can't show you because of time constraints. But look at the advanced drop test, right? Advanced collisions, advanced contacts. And then my favorite, probably one of my favorites, and I keep saying this over and over again, one of my favorites over on the right-hand side, we have large deformation, of course, and mesh degradation. So many of you have contacted me, right? I've been Jesse and I have both been on the sim team for so long. We've talked about mesh degradation all the time, and now we can finally do it on the platform. And again, due to time constraints, I can't show you all the cool videos, but this is just the tip of the iceberg of what the Simulia solver can do on the 3D Experience platform. Okay, so I'm going to pass it over to Jesse now. So he's going to show you the power of some cloud-based design. So again, I showed you SolidWorks with the simulation on the platform. He's going to show you designing everything on the platform. It's really, really cool. Jim? You there?
Yeah, the simulation stuff put me to sleep, Franco. No.
Oh yeah, right.
Impossible.
just
He was in
just kidding.
awe. He
I
was
was
just staring at the slides, just wanted to see
I
them
was in
playing
awe.
over and over again.
Actually, the little blade thing reminds me of every time I try to fly my drone and think I'm a freestyle pilot because pretty much just shatter the props very quickly. It's nice to see what actually happens in slow motion. So uh, that
Yeah,
that that is very very cool stuff. I actually really liked the Moto knee, and it was great to be able to see Mike speak at the conference this year. I used to watch a lot of snowcross back in the day, and when he was racing and stuff, I remember him racing, and then there was, obviously the accident, but he's gone on with that Moto knee to be I think it's like an 8-time X Game champion. So he definitely abuses that knee for sure, and it looks really really cool. All right, so let's see if Jesse can one up you there.
I think I got some ground to make up there.
All right, well, we'll turn it over to you and see what you got.
All right,
Cool.
thanks.
All right, so we're gonna move on here a little bit and just do kind of a flying pass over just a couple of the browser apps. Again, don't want to take up too much time here, but we can't leave without mentioning these because they are pretty cool. So like I mentioned before, while SolidWorks might remain your workhorse when it comes to CAD and all of that, your design tool, even if you're using the platform, there are a few tools that run directly within the browser in this vein as well, and that's what I want to briefly touch on here before we finish out. So this means that you do have design capabilities from anywhere where you are as well. So let's take a look at how this works real quick. Of course, these are integrated into the platform, just like all of the others, just like everything we've talked about so far. And of course, regardless of where you're working from, all of your data is in the same place as well. But you'll notice that in this case, this product, XDesign, looks suspiciously like SolidWorks, and of course, that's intentional. If you already know how to use SolidWorks, you pretty much already know how to use XDesign. They're fairly similar. It does have some cool tricks up its sleeve, but similar in operation. So while you probably wouldn't want to do you'd want to do the editing, I guess I'll say, in the native apps, they can be used in SolidWorks as well. So if you're on the go and you need to do some concept work, you can do that. But what I think is really cool about all of these things is no matter where they're originating, all of the data ends back in the same place. And that lets you do, things like this, where we're setting up some tasks for people to work on, whether it was originating from the web or originating from SolidWorks. Tagging in a user, please do this. And then again, like I said, linking in the actual data, the actual engineering data to the task itself. So wherever they're coming from, Eric can get a notification, hey, take a look at this, do some more work, right? And in this case, he's using another one of the cloud-based apps, X-Shape, to do some fairly complex, or what would be some fairly complex surfacing. And any other tool where we have free-form modeling available through that tool becomes fairly simple. And again, all of that data then congregates back into one single place, right? So making some markup, saying, got it done, check this out. So again, what I think is cool about those tools is that really, whichever angle you're working from, everything ends up converging into the same spot, which I think is really neat. Okay, so a pretty cool workflow there. And again, all of that was just all of that you can do right on a browser or on your phone or whatever, any device, which is crazy cool. So when can we get it? Well, we're at now. So all of that is already available. It's out there. It's being used as we speak. So the next question is then, how can we get it? Obviously, we sell it, but that's not what I mean. I mean, what options as SolidWorks users do we have for using this system? And it really breaks down essentially into two options. The first option is to keep your SolidWorks set up as it is, or as it has been, or purchase it new, of course. and then add on the parts of the platform that you want to use. So this will result in regular desktop version of SolidWorks, and then you'll have a connector which allows you to get your data to the platform, right? The second option that you have now is a relatively new option, and that is to go with or upgrade to one of the newer packages that's come out that's specifically designed to use the platform. So this would result in a SolidWorks connected license, which is just kind of a variation of a normal desktop SolidWorks, as well as a selection of platform tools. There are some differences between regular desktop SolidWorks and SolidWorks Connected. So if you're interested in the differences between those, give us a call for sure. But the new packages break down in a very similar way to how desktop packages do. So the 3D Experience SolidWorks Standard includes SolidWorks Connected, like I mentioned, with the built-in data management, as well as the browser-based tool XDesign. So the first tool that we were taking a look at. Professional, just like our desktop packages, adds in photorealistic rendering with Visualize, which is awesome. And you also get X-Shape, was that freeform modeling tool. And then again, like our desktop packages, our standard desktop packages, the premium adds in linear static on top of that, which is the platform version of the linear static. So again, that data is being run there. So pretty cool. All right, so there's been a lot of buzz around the 3D Experience platform, being the future of design tools. And I think it's really best said when you flip that a little bit and say the future of design is collaboration, because really that's the huge missing piece, I think. Whether we think about it or not, getting the right information to the right people at the right times across an entire design cycle is an enormous task. And it's one that a lot of times we're too busy to focus on. And I think that's really the piece that I'm personally excited about anyway with the 3D Experience platform, and I know a lot of us here are. So couldn't leave the presentation without saying a little bit about that, because I think some awesome tools are on their way. Any questions on that?
There's
Jim, we have anything there?
some awesome feedback. The one question, and I think it was kind of addressed in the chat, but if there's a way to like trade in your licenses of regular SolidWorks.
Yeah, that's a great question. There is, or there will be. I don't know if it's actually out quite yet. Somebody might be able to correct me in the chat, but if there isn't right now, there will be something soon. At least I've heard murmurs of that. So that is an option.
I mean, the really nice thing, I think you mentioned it, the collaboration piece, and we're all in different situations now than we might have been last year. So the collaboration, I know from tech support calls, has been a little bit more difficult on our customer side. We're hearing, slow connections to a VPN, things like that, and having the platform and the cloud-based and somebody else hosting your hardware definitely helps eliminate the where are you located kind of situation. So
yeah, for sure. There's a lot of upsides to that concept.
Yeah, lots of good stuff. I'm super excited to dig into it some more. And like I said, just being able to step in slowly with the add-in and do nothing more than just store my files up there while they're being managed in a PLM type solution. It's been really, really helpful. So
yeah, and I said it before, I mean, that's really the sweet spot. I think if you've got SolidWorks and then you can add on the platform pieces that you need, that, like I said, it kind of bridges the gap there, and you sort of get the best of both worlds in that sense. So
I don't know, Jim, you're always joking about being on a beach somewhere, right? Designing.
Well,
you could do it from your tablet or something like that, right?
Yeah, maybe I can escape
that's the advantage I see.
Escape the gray skies of New York and be on a sunny beach somewhere in like maybe Hawaii. Yeah, that could be nice.
There you go.
How do we know you're not there now?
Well, it's a secret. This is all fake behind me, so who knows where I really am. So I have to ask, which one of you thinks you won? Had the cooler content.
Well, obviously, I won, obviously.
I call it a tie. Let's call it a tie.
All right.
We'll buy each other a beer, Franco.
There you go.
All right. That sounds fair. You guys get to pick and choose which beer each other gets to drink. I think that could be an interesting combination. But
actually, you know what? Why doesn't Jim buy us both a beer?
I like that concept better. Jim didn't do anything here.
Yeah, that's true. All right, I'll send some PBR on the way. I'd like to just kind of take a moment to thank everybody for tuning in and watching what was going on today. And please like and subscribe to our channel. We do try to post content on new tools as well as old tools that we found a new twist on how to use. So like, subscribe, comment on the chats, and if you have any questions on the content or need a hand finding the What's New PDF, I believe it did get posted in the chats, but after the fact, feel free to give one of our offices a call, and we can get you a copy of the PDF so you can browse through all the 166 pages, I think it was this year. And there will be a test next month. So thanks for...
My tools options test will come out. Maybe I'll write a blog on it.
You know what? That's a good idea. I might have to hold you to that. So thanks for coming, everyone. Jesse and Franco, thank you for presenting, and we hope everyone has a wonderful day.
Take care, everybody.